Dear operators, I would like to provide you with information on electrical faults. Dear operators, in my previous video I addressed the question, why won't the machine move forward or backward? Now, there are a few more important points I need to explain. I've repeatedly emphasized that when we turn on the ignition, the turtle or rabbit symbols should light up on the display screen. When I turn on the ignition, the turtle or rabbit symbol does not light up on the screen. Where should I check? I open the glove compartment on the left. Inside, there are orange cables on the left and red-orange cables opposite them. These cables are the main electrical cables connected to our forward and reverse gears. We are discussing why the turtle or rabbit symbols do not light up when we turn on the ignition. We remove the fuses for the orange cables connected to the forward and reverse gears and check whether the fuses are intact. If the fuse is intact, I reinstall it. We then need to use a test light to check if power is reaching this fuse. I check the fuse and the power. If there is no power reaching this point, we need to examine the motherboard. We should look for any soldering issues or breakages on the board to identify any problems. If everything looks fine, we should check the thin red cables in positions 5th and 6th. We need to check the fuses for the thin red cables. These thin red cables are responsible for the ignition power output. The ignition power activates the machine's motherboard. If there is no power reaching these thin red cables, the motherboard system will not activate. So far, the fuses for the cables I've shown should be intact to ensure the motherboard is activated. If there is no power reaching the thin red cables, we remove the display screen and check the cables behind it to ensure they are secure. If any cables are disconnected, we reconnect them. These steps are essential for the proper function. If there is no power to the display screen, the machine will not operate. We've also checked the cables behind the display. If everything seems fine, the next step is to remove the motherboard using a 9mm wrench. Once removed, inspect the back of the motherboard for any soldering defects, poor contacts, or signs of damage. I'd like to remind you that we use 10-amp fuses in the electrical system of this machine. If any of the fuses you see are faulty, please make sure to replace them with 10-amp fuses. Do not use smaller fuses or larger fuses such as 15-amp or 20-amp, as this can cause significant damage to the machine's electrical system, including the motherboard. Using fuses with incorrect amperage can lead to severe damage. Please exercise caution in this matter. I'd like to discuss the lever on the left side. When you move this lever to one position, it activates the parking lights. In the second position, it turns on the headlights. Pushing the lever upwards activates the right turn signals, while pushing it downwards activates the left turn signals. The blue line on the far right of the display is the temperature gauge. The red line on the far left is the fuel gauge. In the center, you'll find the tachometer and the operating hours counter. If the machine's oil pressure is low or the engine is not charging, the display will issue a warning with a diet sound. When you hear this warning sound, check which light is illuminated on the screen. If the battery light is on, it could indicate a broken belt, an issue with the alternator, or that the machine is not charging. If the oil light is on, it could mean the oil pressure is low or the pressure sensor may be faulty. These are serious issues and require immediate attention. Dear operators, if one of the headlights, either the high beam or low beam, is not working when you turn on the lights, what should we do? We need to check the fuses located in the right glove compartment. I would like to introduce you to the fuses in the right glove compartment. The fuse on the far right is for the horn. The second fuse from the right is for the parking lights. The third fuse is for the low beam headlights, and the fourth one is for the high beam headlights. We need to check whether these fuses are active. The fifth fuse from the right is for the brake lights and the joystick. This fuse is responsible for the electrical current to both the emergency button sensors and the joystick. If this fuse is blown, it needs to be replaced with a new one. The sixth fuse from the right is responsible for the electrical current to the motherboard. If the machine's motherboard is not receiving power, check this fuse. The seventh fuse is for the power supply to the cabin. The eighth fuse on the far left is for direct power. It is reserved for any accessories you might want to add later. Directly connecting power to this fuse is not recommended, as it can drain your battery and damage the machine. Dear operators, one of the joystick buttons is not working. This is one of the issues we've received from you. The joystick has a socket here. Please take it in your hand. In this socket, there are two yellow cables. Check if power is reaching these two yellow cables when you press the joystick button. Ensure that the sockets are properly connected to each other. If all these checks are done and power is present, but the button still does not work, what do we do? The yellow cables here are used for extending and retracting the joystick. The function of the other socket is to send commands to move the machine forward and backward via the button on the joystick. Sometimes, when you use this button to command the machine to move forward or backward, it might move in only one direction and not the other. This is often due to poor contact in the socket. We will check that the socket is properly in place, ensure that the cables are secure, and examine the fuse for this socket. Where is the fuse for this socket located? We've opened the fuse compartment on the left side of the glove box. The fuses responsible for the forward and reverse commands on the joystick are connected to the two white wires you see here. If one of these fuses is blown, the machine will only move in one direction. In such cases, check these two fuses. Remember to replace the blown fuse with one of the same amperage to ensure proper function. If you find that the fuse has blown again, even after replacing it, what should we do? We need to check for any damage or breakages in the electrical wiring. This was clearly explained in our previous video. One of the joystick buttons is not working. Dear operators, we have checked the socket, cables, and fuses, but if one of the joystick buttons is still not working, there is an air valve here. The air valve controls the machine's forward and reverse movements. Check the cables connected to the air valve. If the cables are intact, the issue may be with the coils. We need to replace the coils if they are faulty. Check the wiring and cables again. If there are no visible issues like damage or kinks, the problem might be with the coils. If a joystick button stays pressed even after you release it, the air coil may have dirt inside it. This dirt can block the electrical signal, causing the machine to continue extending or retracting. To address this issue, you can either replace the coils with new ones or clean the coils by applying compressed air to the air ports and then reinstall them. Dear operators, you turned on the ignition, but none of the lights on the display screen are on, and there is no power reaching the screen. Neither the oil light nor the charge light is illuminated. What should we do in this situation? Friends, there is a main fuse located on the starter motor. This fuse is positioned directly on top of the starter motor and protects the machine from potential damage. I will now show you the fuse on the starter motor. Dear operators, the 80 or 100 amp main fuse is located on the starter motor. This fuse can blow in situations such as improper boosting when the battery is dead, or if the lighting system is left on for an extended period. Blowing the fuse is a protective measure by the machine to prevent damage. If you turn on the ignition and no warning lights are illuminated on the main display screen, it indicates that the main fuse on the starter motor may have blown. Replace the fuse with one of the same amperage. A 50 amp fuse will not be sufficient. Use either an 80 amp or 100 amp fuse, and do not use a fuse larger than 100 amps. Our machine is equipped with an emergency button for critical situations. Behind this emergency button, there is a sensor that is crucial for the machine's operation. I will show you this sensor, and then we will have covered everything regarding the electrical system. I am removing the grill on the left side of the machine. I am doing this to check whether the connectors behind the emergency sensor are properly connected. The emergency sensor is located here. Make sure that the connectors behind the sensor are properly plugged in. If they are not, the machine will not start, and the P indicator on the screen will remain off. If the emergency sensor isn't getting power, check the fuse compartment on the right side of the glove box. The orange, blue, and red wires supply power to the sensor. Replace the fuse if needed to restore functionality. Dear operators, I have provided information on electrical faults. Don't forget to follow us for our other videos.